Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Searching for Happiness podcast. I am your host, Joseph Grable, and today I have with me film director, writer, and producer Darren Stein. You might recognize Darren from movies such as Sparkler and Jawbreaker, along with G.B.F. How are you doing today, Darren?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
And there's been a few boo-boos in the place, but, nevertheless, I'm so excited that we're finally here. And, I've known you for about 3 years now. So, it's been a long journey, and I really appreciate you coming out. And on top of that, can we just talk about how crazy it is that you're my professor?
Yeah, I teach at AFI and LA Film School, and it's funny,
It's amazing. I find you fascinating.
Thank you.
I always enjoyed your classes. You were like my second professor ever at the school, so I always enjoyed your classes. And kind of going more into a personal lifestyle though. I understand that you kind of were doing your thesis film at NYU in 1988. And that was long before you did your features.
Yeah, I went to film school at NYU, undergrad. I made a thesis film when I was a junior there, and it got me my first agent, when I was, I think, 21. I was super young.
Wow.
But then it took 5 years after that to get my first feature off the ground. So in those 5 years, I wrote Sparkler and I wrote Jawbreaker kind of back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to get Sparkler made, it couldn't. And I ended up getting Jawbreaker made. No. Then I wrote Jawbreaker, couldn't get that made, and then I sort of got Sparkler financed through independent, sources on the East Coast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Got these great producers attached, and we got Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jamie Kennedy, this incredible cast, and made a movie, on 35 millimeter.
That's amazing. And so what I understand is even before that, you made a documentary.
No, the documentary came after Jawbreaker.
It did? It did. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was kind of an antithesis of it's kind of like bringing back to your roots though, because you grew up in the San Fernando Valley and you grew up with a camera shooting, what you were saying earlier with your friends. You want to elaborate more about that?
Yeah, my grandparents started a film lab in the 60s in Hollywood. It was
Amazing.
like a boutique family-owned film lab called Crest National. And so my dad worked there my whole life. And so he was very into film and filmmaking, and brought home one of the first video cameras in the late 70s, early 80s. And it's like, don't touch this. This is dad's toy. It's too expensive for you to use. So my very first film was like a newscast that my dad filmed with my friends. And then I just started using it, and he got a little bit less strict about it. And I started making films with the neighborhood kids. I would go see a film like Poltergeist or, Karate Kid or something, Platoon, and then come home and make my own version of it, like in the hills or,
Mm-hmm.
with our own special effects. And it was wild. Yeah, it was really, I was very kind of like, I got the bug. I read Fangoria magazine and Starlog and Cinema Fantastique, and I was just obsessed with movies ever since I was a kid.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel you. I've been obsessed with movies since I was a kid. So, growing up in like the San Fernando Valley, I'm sure you saw quite a bit of that, especially with your family starting that business. Did you since you had making those videos, did you always know you could make a whole career out of it? Or was it more like, it's like my hobby?
No, I was looking at filmmakers like Steven Spielberg or David Lynch or Stanley Kubrick, and I was like, well, these people are all doing it. Maybe I should give it a try.
That's amazing.
So, I went to film school and, just started writing and working hard, to get these films made.
Is there anyone that you still work with to this day that you would say that you worked with maybe on your first feature or your second or even in NYU?
I'm trying to think. I'm still friends with people from NYU.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like Sean Baker, who made Tangerine and the Florida Project.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we went to NYU together. And I just went to a screening of his film Red Rocket when it came out at the New Beverly.
That was good. I watched it.
It was really cool to see him. And I'm trying to think back to my first film, Sparkler, if there's anyone I still work with. The producers of Sparkler actually were talking about working together on a new movie. So we are talking about working together on something new.
That's awesome.
And then Jawbreaker, I'm actually developing as a movie musical now.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask. That was gonna be one of my questions. Was like, I saw kind of on your IMDb it said Jawbreaker TV show, but last time I had talked to you, it was more of a musical esque. So like, how did that? Basically, it's based off of your 1999 cult classic Jawbreaker. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And I actually remember the movie as a kid because I grew up with a very young mother, and she was very into 90s rom-coms, you know what I mean?
Cool.
So, in that whole element, I grew
Mm-hmm.
up with She's All That,
Mm-hmm.
Jawbreaker.
With Freddie.
Yeah, with Freddie, she had the biggest like crush on him in the world. I remember that.
I remember being at a party in the 90s and seeing Freddie, and I had made Jawbreaker, and he had just made She's All That, and we were like joking about which movie would be the bigger hit and stuff.
Oh, that's so
It was funny,
cool.
yeah.
That's so cool. Do you still talk to Freddie?
I think we like DM on Twitter now and then, but Sparkler, the first movie, I mean, that I made and that Freddie's in, is finally going to be available on streaming in a couple months.
Oh, really?
Actually, later in the year, yeah. So it's finally going to be available. We just made a 2K transfer. It hadn't existed on HD. We shot on 35, and it came out on. It was on cable, on HBO and stuff. It was on DVD, and no, it's never. Yeah, there were a few DVDs made. It was on home video. It was on VHS. You could get it at Blockbuster, like in the 90s. But it's finally gonna get out like on Amazon and hopefully places like Netflix or Hulu. Yeah, so it's exciting.
That is exciting. That is exciting. So kind of going back to the Jawbreaker musical as well, like, how did that come about? I know when I first started like 3 years ago, you were just kind of beginning the process of like trying to figure out how to make a TV show out of it.
Right.
And so like, how did that even come about?
Well, I got a call, I want to say almost 10 years ago, from a theater producer in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were like, hey, have you ever thought about doing Jawbreaker as a musical for the stage? I'm like, yeah, I would love that. And so this theater producer in New York hooked me up with this composer and lyricist, and they wrote a demo to sort of convince me of their talent. And they wrote these 3 songs, and they were all really incredible. And so we started working together on a musical for the stage. And I wrote the libretto, which is like the book to the musical. And then they wrote the music and lyrics. And we wrote it, and we got producers, and we got a director, and we had readings in LA and New York. And it was very close to getting on a stage. It's funny, it's Carol Kane, who was in the movie. She did a reading of the musical.
Mm-hmm.
And actually a few actors from G.B.F. did some readings in New York, like JoJo,
Oh, really?
who's in G.B.F., and Taylor Frey, who's an actor in G.B.F. It didn't get on stage. It was so close to getting on stage in Seattle. And it was always a tough process because we had to get the rights from Sony, and we had to get the financing, and we had to get a stage director and these producers, and we were very close. And then the financer decided that Sony wanted too much money for the rights, and so there was a cost prohibitive moment where we couldn't sort of move ahead. So then me and George Northey, who wrote G.B.F., which I directed, we sold Jawbreaker as a reboot to E! Back when E! was making scripted shows.
I remember that. That. You were telling us about it.
Yeah, so that was actually not a high school thing. That was like these like 20-something influencers in LA who like are a clique of women similar to Jawbreaker. And one of them's getting married, and they, sort of the bully of the group, the woman who's like the Rose McGowan character, they pressure the bride-to-be into having sex with the stripper at the bachelorette party. And they gag him with a Jawbreaker ball gag for fun. And then as the woman's having sex with him, he dies.
Didn't we read a script of that?
We might have read it in class.
Yeah. Okay, now it definitely reminds me. I love that script.
It was really fun, yeah. But he decided not to make scripted and go back to unscripted. So that didn't happen. And then I pitched it as a limited series, as a musical limited series, to like Amazon and Freeform and a few other places. And that was not meant to be, which is fine. Because I always thought it was a movie musical remake more than a limited series. So I just pitched it to Sony Pictures, which is the studio Sony Pictures, and we are now developing it at Sony as a musical limited series.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, as a musical movie remake.
That's musical movie remake.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's always been interesting, to get your guys' perspective, especially as professors too, because you guys not only do the professor job, but you also currently in the business, and that's what I love about our school so much is the
Mm-hmm.
majority of the staff are still
Mm-hmm.
like in the business.
Totally, yeah.
How do you even juggle that? Like I feel like it's so
Well, I think working's so great,
busy.
because I think teaching can be kind of part-time-ish. It doesn't, if you were to work at, say, a reality TV job or a production job, those are like 12-hour days.
Hmm.
But at least teaching is more 9 to 5, so you do have time to work on your own projects and have meetings and
That's nice.
yeah.
So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
it's good.
So when you say you go make a movie, did the school just like let you take time off?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Schools like AFI and LAFS, they definitely encourage, they want their teachers to be working. It's actually, I think, a good thing for everybody.
That is a good thing.
Yeah.
I would hope so. They
Mm-hmm.
would want your teachers still working, and I think it really helps with the students as well because you guys like I remember going to like University of Oregon for like their cinema studies, and like you could like not like that they weren't bad at teaching or anything. Like I thought they were great, but you could tell they hadn't worked in a long time,
Right.
and it makes a huge difference. Like it really does. And like from my perspective, at least, like I feel like you guys are always up to date with everything, like editing software, like scheduling software, everything. You guys are always up to date as to where like when I went to U of O, I was using stuff that was like made in like 2010,
Yeah.
or 2012 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that in 2019. So,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
it was a little difficult. And that, I mean, like that school is like the reason I kind of went to this school and I found the school. And I'm really glad I did because, like you and, a few other professors, like you guys are great. You know what I mean? And I love that you guys can juggle both too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
find that so inspiring because it's there's a lot of places in like the world that like having multiple jobs isn't like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like out here, as I've moved out here, I've realized that like everybody has multiple
You
jobs.
gotta have a hustle.
You gotta have a hustle, right? And I love that you chose teaching as your hustle. Like that's so
Yeah, because I feel like it just feels so good to like share knowledge and to see what young people are doing, like where your heads are at and what's getting you like excited.
Mm-hmm. Did you? What year did you start teaching?
I think I started at LAFS, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, something around
really?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty new. It might be 4.
Okay, so you probably like only there for like a year before I probably
Yes,
showed up.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, cool. So like, what kind of went into the decision to like?
Just making some extra money on the side and also between writing and directing jobs. And also, I just really enjoy sharing knowledge and teaching comes naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it felt like a good thing to do that felt good to me as a person. And wasn't completely like all encompassing as a job,
Mm-hmm.
So it just felt like something I can easily do, while writing scripts or directing stuff and working on projects.
That's great. Does it like ever kind of like affect your mental state, like in ways like are there days that where you're just kind of like, dude, like I don't want to go?
Yeah, everyone has their days.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, for any job, So yeah, that's just human nature, I guess. But generally, I find it pretty easy.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. Kind of going back to your film career, I kind of want to go the route of like, has there really been like kind of like any like defining moments in your career that you would say were like mentally very straining or mentally very hard to withstand or go through?
I think making films is challenging. It's a very challenging business. They're expensive. It's stressful. There's a lot of people that are working under you. There's a lot of pressure involved.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that it can be a stressful experience. But that's sort of part of the beauty of filmmaking. I mean, some films are more stressful than others. Making Jawbreaker. I was so young when I made that. I was like, 28 or something,
Mhm.
And when I made G.B.F, I'm 50 now. So G.B.F was almost 10 years ago. So I was like,
You don't look 50.
thank you.
There's no way.
I know, isn't that
Are you
crazy?
serious?
I swear to God.
That's crazy.
1971.
No way.
Mhm.
I thought you were like 40.
Thank you. But when I made
Honest.
G.B.F, I was 40. And so G.B.F was a great experience. Loved it. I think it had been so long. Between Jawbreaker and G.B.F, I produced a feature that I didn't write or direct called All About Evil. It just came out on Shudder, which is a really
That's
great
with
film.
Natasha.
Natasha Lyonne's in it, and she's also in G.B.F. But it's also got like Elvira, Mink Stoll, who's been in all the John Waters movies, Thomas Dekker, who's a great actor, Noah Segan from Knives Out. It's got a great cast. And it's written and directed by this guy, Joshua Grinnell, who's also known as Peaches Christ, the drag queen, who does like a cult film screening series
Oh,
in
really?
San Francisco. Yeah, he's great. He's a good friend of mine. He had heard me on This American Life, which is a radio show on NPR, where I was being interviewed about my documentary by Ira Glass. It's like a national radio show. It's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
And he reached out. He's like, I love Jawbreaker and I'd love to meet you sometime. And I was in San Francisco for a screening of a film and we became friends. And I was like, hey, if you ever I saw his short films. I was really impressed by his shorts. And I said, if you ever make a feature, I'll produce it. And then like 8 years later, he wrote the feature and I read it and, I helped produce it. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Which title, or not title, what job do you think is the most fun for you, like on set?
Oh, directing.
Directing?
For sure.
Is it just kind of just the way you get to work with the actors, or is it
Yeah, it's
more-
working with the actors, working with the DP, the first AD, the costume and production designer, the entire crew. It's just developing the story and writing the script or working on the script with a writer. Post-production, editing and sound and color and the entire thing. I really just love the entire process.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's like when I explain to people like actually how much goes into movies, their minds are just like, what?
It's a lot.
Like
Yeah.
it's so much. Like even when I moved out here, still to this day, it's been like 3, almost 4-ish years, and like a total of 5 since I've been in the business completely. Every time I'm on set, I learn something new and something blows my mind. Like, cause it's like you're like, I never even knew that existed, or like I never knew I needed to do that to get that, or
And you never stop learning. Even when you get to my age, you're
Yeah.
constantly learning. That's kind of the beauty of the art form as well, as a writer or a director.
that's what I love about the most is like people tell me they're like, what do you love about like doing what you do the most? I was like, honestly, I was like collaborating with people. Like
Mhm.
being in a room with like 12 brains, or like say even 3 different brains, like
Mhm.
the sky is like the limit. You can do a lot with that. You know what I mean? And like I really didn't realize that until I moved out here and really saw and got put into the collaborative world that the school kind of at first forced me to. I was very nervous to at first, but through like the school being like, oh, just do networking and this and that,
Mhm.
you realize how really fun it can be. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, sometimes you don't have people you don't like, but like I feel like that's in every business.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I wish when I watch movies now, I have such like a newfound respect for movies.
Mhm.
It kind of ruined me, but like at the same time, like I can't watch like the CW shows anymore. Like
Mhm.
that's the way it kind of ruined me.
That's good though.
Yeah, but like it's good. Like and like I pay more attention to like every aspect of a movie, and like from the cinematography, the editing. Like sometimes I'll like catch someone like do a really bad edit. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
like I do love the field of like there's so many different jobs you can do.
Mhm.
There's so many different people you can meet.
Mhm.
It's probably one of the most like diverse like businesses out there,
Really
to be
diverse,
honest.
yeah, for sure.
Super diverse. That's what I love it so much, is I meet people from all over the world,
Mhm.
and like people I would have never guessed. Even my wife, she's like on the other side of the world. Probably would have never met her.
Where's she from?
She's from Sao Paulo, Lorena, Brazil.
Oh wow, very cool.
Yeah, so she's from a very small area, and I'm trying to get the permission from the school to let me go for like 2 weeks to Brazil in October, and just miss like hopefully try to miss like half my like first editing class, because I'm not even the editor anyways.
Maybe you could do it over Zoom or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm
Mhm.
not even the editor anyways,
Mhm.
and there's Zoom and everything. I don't mind having to stay at like
Mhm.
1 a.m. to
Yeah.
class. Like I don't
Mhm.
care.
Mhm.
Like you know what I mean. So like I'm trying to go within like the next month and a half
Cool.
actually. Yeah, and I've been wanting.
I've been to Brazil.
Have you?
I've been to Sao Paulo. Yeah, because G.B.F played at a film festival there.
Amazing. So
Mhm.
you actually got to go, and like, did how was that experience?
It was great. It was great to watch it in a foreign country and see how it
Mhm.
translates and how people really enjoy it. Yeah, that's part of the fun, is going to film festivals and all over the world and experiencing your film with audiences and meeting people and meeting other filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
I had a filmmaker friend of mine from LA who's from Israel. He was there with his movie. Another filmmaker, John Cameron Mitchell, who made How to Begin the Angry Inch and Short Bus and Rabbit. I think he was there with a retrospective. So it's great to show your films, but it's also nice to sort of commune with other filmmakers
I agree.
because we don't get to see each other that much.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned about life as a filmmaker. I don't have like really time to like chill with my friends sometimes, and it's it's a little heartbreaking. But at the same
You have to
time,
make time for that, though.
you have to make. I mean, I feel like really any adult these days has to do that, no matter what job they have. To be honest, like the way the world is, this dog. But no, like on some real stuff though, like I think it's really important to find time like that with your friends. Though,
Yeah,
still
yeah.
like even in this crazy world and everything, how was kind of a little topic changer. Kind of how was like COVID for you?
COVID was fine. It wasn't terrible for me because, well, I'm single, but I have 2 dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and my family lives in LA. So my mom and dad are here. My brother, my niece and nephew, I have a lot of
That's
friends.
awesome.
So I didn't feel that isolated. And I adapted a YA book with a writer
Oh, really?
that I had never worked with before. And so she and I worked together over Zoom and on the phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was a really great collaboration. We had a really good time adapting this book. It's called Where I End and You Begin. It's like a cross-gender body swap teen movie. It's really fun. And so I was working, and it felt really great to be working. And then I was teaching, which was on Zoom, and so that worked really well. I think teaching on Zoom kind of can work really well for certain classes. Um, but yeah, it also made me very internal and quiet and spiritual.
I used to be a very like outgoing
Mm-hmm.
person before COVID, and I think being locked away for like 8 months
Mm-hmm.
did me a number. Like
Yeah.
now, like I have anxiety going to like concerts or
Really?
something now because it's just so many people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like a germ thing now or if it's like a, like if it's just an anxiety thing that I built up for myself because I didn't see that many people for so long. And like, or it's like I find myself getting very nervous for things I never used to get nervous about. And so like I feel like COVID really did that number on me for that.
Well, you're also young. I mean, how old were you when COVID happened? Like 21?
I was freshly 21. I think it literally like yeah, it was because it really started in like January of 2020.
Mhm,
That's like when the
mhm.
first cases really started rolling out. But it didn't like the world didn't cancel till March.
Mhm.
But in that January, like I think I was only like 3 months 21. Still haven't really gone out or anything at that time. I think I went with like a few film students that were much older than me. You know what I mean? As like a birthday thing. But other than that, I didn't really go into any clubs or anything, so I didn't get to experience
Mhm.
like how LA truly really was before COVID.
Yeah, your life got kind of
It got
cut
cut
short,
off.
yeah.
Yeah. And then like, COVID was really rough for me. Like I even took like a few months off of school and stuff because it was just like the mental strain, dude, of like being locked away and then not being able to see your family. And then
And you also have health issues, which is why
Yeah.
you got to be very careful.
yeah, like I legitimately could not go out anywhere because my cardiologist would be like, I don't think it's a good idea at
Wow.
all. I don't think
Wow.
you should be doing that. And I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, okay, buddy. And I think, I don't think I got COVID during the quarantine, but I had gotten really sick. And then that kind of opened my eyes. Like, imagine if that was COVID,
Mhm.
that would have wrecked me.
Mhm.
And so I stuck to my words. Like I had met Sabrina, my wife, outside the school probably in like October, November-ish. And we hung out for like the like actual first time probably like the beginning of December, back middle
Mhm.
December.
Mhm.
And so I only got to hang out with her for like a month.
Mhm.
And then like at the time she was doing like an au pair program. And so like she had to listen to what like the host family said. Like so she had like curfew or
Mhm.
she wasn't allowed to go because of COVID.
Mhm.
Like that's the rules. Like you have to. And so by the time it was like mid-January, they're like, nope. They're like, you can't. I don't want you going out because of the baby. And she's like, okay. So between like January, granted, we're already like in a relationship too. Between January and probably July-ish. No, sorry, June-ish, beginning of June, I didn't see her. So that was a little rough. That did me
That
a
is
number.
rough,
And then
yeah.
I got sick between that time as well.
And you're in LA, you're
Mhm.
young, you're going to school, your family's not here.
Exactly.
You have a health issue. There are a lot of things. Yeah.
I actually got so irritated one day. I kind of had like a breakdown, and my mom actually came and got me, and I went back home because I
Mhm.
was like, I think what got me was like you know, like I'm so close to like all my friends, but like none of us can go out, or at least they can, you know, if they want to risk that. But like I can't, like I just couldn't. And because the doctors didn't know what COVID really was at the time. And like, of course, as COVID progressed, they're like, yeah, dude, just get vaccinated and do whatever, you know. But like in the beginning, it was really rough for me and my self-esteem as well, because I went from like a very outgoing person to like I never text anybody back, I never did anything. Like, you know, my biggest regret is I didn't learn a thing other than like school stuff in COVID. And even with that, like, you know, learning over Zoom can be difficult for students as well. And like I would say I struggled with it a lot, but there was definitely days where I was like, oh man, like this is rough. But you know, I really regret not like learning something like guitar or a new language or something like that. But I feel like that's just because I had so much built up anxiety during COVID that's what really like prevented me from doing that. And I think that like I'm sometimes hard on myself still to this day about COVID because of like all the missed opportunities I guess I could have taken.
But you can't live in the past.
You can't
Just
live.
keep
That's
going
what.
into the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't worry about that.
Exactly. And like, you know, like some days I get a little rough on myself, but I'm also like so young. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're so
I
young.
could like fuck up like every day of my life.
Yeah, you have
like,
your
the
whole life
next-
ahead of you.
I could, yeah, like I could fuck up like every day for like 10 years and like I'd still be okay. Like, yeah. So like, you know, like I think this year has definitely been like an eye opener of kind of like letting that stuff go, letting COVID go. Kobe. If you're listening on sound, our dog Kobe is just chilling in the weirdest positions. But you know, we love him. But anyways, but yeah, dude, COVID was just, I don't know. It was, I kind of appreciate it, but at the same time, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure.
It was a trip. Like I think we're all still processing it. Like last weekend, I went to a show, a theater piece on Friday in a small theater, no mask. I went to at a restaurant before that. You know, Saturday I went to like another show at USC, this John Cameron Mitchell Origins of Love thing. It's like this music from Hedwig and the story of Hedwig. A huge theater, didn't wear a mask. And then Sunday, and then went to an after party like backstage, which was really stuffy. There wasn't a lot of circulation of air there.
Yeah.
And then Sunday I went to a music festival in Pasadena, which was like an all-day thing. Bands like Beach House, Strokes, Idols.
Oh wait,
Sparks.
I had a few buddies that went to that.
It was fun.
Yeah, they all said it was really fun.
Yeah, and I'm just like, now I'm feeling a little run down, like Monday and Tuesday. Not sick, but just a little bit tired. And it's just because I made myself do all this stuff, you know? But I was at the gym this morning and like no one was wearing a mask. You know, there's like 2 people in masks. I'm not wearing a mask either, you know, because I don't feel the need to. But it's like, geez, do the 2 people in masks know something we don't? Are they being super smart about this?
Yeah.
You know,
no,
it's like,
I've been seeing that. So I went like on the subway the other day and everyone had one on and I was just like, I was like, oh, am I supposed to have one on? Like, do all of you know something I don't? And then I realized I was like, I'm on the subway. I was like, that makes sense. I was like, luckily I put mine on because I realized I was on the subway, but like, I always have one still like in my pocket, mainly because of school, because I have to go in there with the school. But like, there have definitely been times where I have been very uncomfortable with like going back into big crowds and stuff. So I'll swipe that on. And same thing with my wife. Like she's a nanny, like still, like she doesn't have to like, she's not like in a pair anymore, but she still like privately does nanny work just with way more money. And she still has to wear one all the time too. So like, you know, we're still very cautious. And like I had gotten COVID. I actually had gotten COVID probably back in June or July this year. And that wrecked me. I think the first day, like my whole body, it was actually really bad. The first day I got it was when I had one of my cardiologist appointments. And I didn't realize I had it. I just thought I felt like shit. So I like went into the hospital like
with COVID.
COVID, had no idea. Like I was like, I thought it was just like some chips I ate like the night before because sometimes that happens. And like, no, I got home and like my body started like just aching more and more. I was like, what? I was like, and I like lay down for a nap and I woke up and like I just could not move my body.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. Like my wife got home and she's like, what are you doing? Because I don't lay in bed all day. You know what I mean? I don't do that. And she's like, what are you doing, man? Like, you okay? I was like, I literally cannot move. Like, I can't even, like, my neck, like, I would move it. And, like, it was really painful. Like my body locked up for like 2 days.
Wow.
The next day she had to like help me out of bed because my body just hurt so bad. Like I think I took like 15 minutes to get out of bed.
Wow.
It was rough. Like
Wow.
it was really bad. But by the third day the pain was easing up, and like I think I got it for like a solid like 6 full days of just like being sick and feeling under the weather. But like after that, like I started feeling good again. I lost so much weight with COVID too. Even being as skinny as I am, I still lost like almost like 20 pounds.
Wow.
It was bad. Like I remember I was like 150, and then like the day after like I got cleared for COVID or whatever, I was like 129 or something like
Wow.
that. And I was like, you could see my rib cage and everything. I was like, dude, that's crazy. It was kind of a blessing though, because I got to like start kind of on ground zero for like muscle and like my body. And so like that's been kind of a blessing because I feel a lot healthier now as I've like been working out more and more.
That's
and
great.
Like, I've got more into cardio and stuff as well, which is like always been a big thing with my doctors. And I think COVID really like helped me see that like I need to work out every day. Like,
right. Because you can be skinny fat.
Yeah.
You know, you can be skinny, but not healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's my thing is I eat like a 12-year-old. So you know what I mean? Like,
so you eat crap.
Yeah, I eat like crap. I mean, not as much anymore, but like that's how my diet was during quarantine, and then even when I was sick this last few months. And I ate like a 12-year-old. Like I ate like shit, like chicken strips and bags of chips and soda. And like now I'm more like a diet, mainly high protein diet, but like COVID really opened my eyes. Once I got it, it was so bad. Like I don't think I would ever wish that on my worst enemy.
Is your girlfriend your age?
My wife is she's 26.
Oh wow, so she's a little older.
She's older than me.
Does she cook for you? Does she like
No, actually I cook in the house. I have to cook mostly. She cooks, but like not to throw her on the bus, she doesn't know how to cook as much as I do. You know what I mean? So she can cook like a few things, but like I grew up like how I started my actual like working life was in a restaurant, so like I know how to cook a lot of things and do a lot of things from scratch, which is a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I took culinary classes as well to help
That's
with
awesome.
that. So thankfully she's lucky and I'm the cook of the home.
Cool.
But every now and then she'll make something and it's usually really good.
Wow.
It's usually really, really good, especially if she makes like Brazilian food.
Mm-hmm.
The way she makes her chicken is just crazy.
Wow.
Just crazy. I'm like, girl, I was like, you can't tell nobody your secret. I was like, nobody. I tell her all the time, I was like, I know you don't really like cooking, but I think you would make a killing in LA if you did like a Brazilian cart or like a Brazilian like food truck.
Oh,
there.
Totally, yeah.
I tell her all the time, I was like, you would like make so much money.
There's not a lot of Brazilian food in LA.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you went and parked, like got a permit to park on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard, I was like, you'd probably make a cool few thousand in one night. You know what I mean? Like, like the hibachi trucks. I know somebody that works in it. And they make like $8,000.
Wow.
Just like on a Thursday night, not even on a Saturday or Friday night. They'll make like way more.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they're like, it's a great business to get into. But nevertheless, like I enjoy cooking. It was also something that I really visited more, got back to my roots with it in COVID. Was I was experimenting a lot, mainly because like I felt like there was nothing else really to do, and that's kind of what my attention. It's a way for me to escape as well. Like cooking is a good way to escape when you get away from your thoughts, because you got to focus, especially if you're cutting something. You really got to like focus and make sure you're doing everything right and like measuring and all that. So it's a good way to escape. Do you have any like ways to like escape, or have you found ways to escape through like your mental strains or whatnot?
Probably just like hikes, the gym, walking my dogs.
Those are great.
I was really into Kundalini yoga for a while. It's like a Sikh based, a lot of breathing and stuff. I love to see my friends, and just go on hikes, go to movies, museums, restaurants. I love to eat out. It's probably something I do a lot of.
Yeah.
I love food, love trying different restaurants, music shows, concerts, theater, all that stuff.
All the great stuff. I know, and that's why I love LA so much too, is it has all that. And, like where I'm from, you probably only get like 3 of those. You know what I mean? Like, but I've really enjoyed hiking as well. I feel like that's a really good way to.
Yeah,
really
LA has lots of hiking.
Yeah, and like I just feel like it's a really good way to like clear your head as well. Like, not only are you exercising, but kind of too tired to think, you know what I mean? At least I am. Like when I go, I'm like, like I'm like heaving by the time I'm
It's good cardio for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I mean, that's why I try to do it too as well. And, you know, I think kind of going back to COVID is like, I learned to appreciate all that stuff more because like once we were like out to let go, that's what the first thing we did was like go on a hike and go work out. Was just like, you need to go do that.
Did your parents want you to come home when COVID happened?
Yes, they did. So my parents are separated, but they both did. They're like, why are you even in LA if you can't see anybody? You can't do anything. Like you might as well come out to Oregon where there's fresh air. You can hike because there's going to be nobody on the trail. Like you can do whatever you want. You can sit out on the lawn all day. Who cares? And I was like, okay. So I went home for like 3 months. And then 2 of those months I took off of school because I was just like, I can't. I'm regretting it now because I'd actually would be graduating like in 2 weeks if I didn't take those like 2 to 3 months off. But instead now I'm graduating like in January or something. So I kind of regret that. But at the same time, like, I feel like it was very necessary for me to take time off.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
like the things that were going on in my life at the moment too, with like my new relationship and like, you know, I kind of wanted to focus on that a little and like make sure like, you know, I was on top of my shit. And like, also like I wanted to make some money, like, and so I kind of honed in those months. I did like a lot of Fiverr work or like I did like a lot of like freelance stuff for my buddies that like just like editing or something.
Cool.
And so I really just want to focus on that. And I think like it honestly helped me those nights that like every night I would still watch like videos of like filmmaking or like behind the scenes something because I wanted to stay on top of my stuff. I just I couldn't handle the pressure of like assignments need to be in at this time and this time. Even if it's late, you're still going to get marked down. And like, you know, most professors are lenient, but I think at the time the ones I had were not, or they were more a little strict about it. And so I was just like, screw this. Like, I'm just going to take a breather for a bit. And I used to feel really bad about it, but then I realized like all my friends did that. Every single one of them. Like not a single friend didn't take time off. And so I was like, okay, like that's, it was a normal thing to do. Like it was, you know, looking back on it, it was a great thing for me to do for my like mental state and also like my health as well. Cause like I did a lot of hiking and went during COVID and I did a lot of walking around, walking down the street, walking my mom's dog, you know, like, and then when I would visit my dad, it's the same thing. My dad, he just lives in a small town as well. Ghost town, man. Ghost town. And so like I just walk around the streets, nothing, like I'm fine, you know.
I'm sure your parents were grateful to have you home too.
Oh yeah, they loved every second of it. Me not so much, but them, I'm sure they loved every second of it. But yeah, I love my parents though. They're great. How often do you see your parents?
I see them a lot because they live in LA.
Yeah.
They're just like 20 minutes away, but they're, you know.
Hey, some people's parents live in LA, but they haven't seen their parents in like a year. You know what I mean?
It's true. No, we're really close.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just saw them last night for dinner.
Oh, that's awesome. What'd you guys have?
We went to a place, an Italian restaurant.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we had like lemon pasta and some like filet of sole and some salads. It was some octopus.
Ooh,
it's good.
I don't know if I've ever had octopus.
Yeah.
Everyone always tries to like shove it down my throat. Like,
it tastes really good. You should try it.
Yeah, if you would have like a conversation with my wife, she'd be like, he's the pickiest eater.
Are you really?
Bro. I really am. Like I said, like I eat like a 12-year-old. So like this whole like diet thing has been really hard for me. Cause like I've eaten like a 12-year-old since I was like 12 or even younger. So like, it's been something hard, but I've realized that like the more I force myself to eat it, the more I start to like it. Like with salads, I started finally eating salads, and I was like, these aren't too bad, I guess. Like as to where I was like, that's like the devil's.
Takoya down the street's got some good salads.
Oh really? I'll have to check it out.
On Seward in Santa Monica.
Oh really? What changed it for me is I had a salad at Stout. I don't remember. It started with an A.
Oh, the hamburger salad?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I was like, okay. I was like, I think I can do
this. It's like healthier because there's like no bun.
Yeah. I was like, I think I can do this. Okay, cool. And then since then I've really, you know, kind of honed in on it.
That's great.
Yeah, and like every day we're trying to like find new recipes. We do like HelloFresh now too as well. which makes it way easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more expensive than I think we usually spend a week, but I think it's kind of.
And they just give you all the ingredients and you make stuff at home.
Yeah. Like they even come with, so the way it works is like HelloFresh is like they'll send like a box. It's like refrigerated inside. It's got like all these like ice packs that last like 72 hours or something like that. And they isolate it, and you know it shows up at your door. You open it, and the first thing you see are like these cue cards that have like the picture of the item, exactly what you need for it, and then how to make it, and the time and everything. And then in the box are like, depending on how many meals you get, I think we get like 12 meals a week, you know, for like lunch and dinner, or sorry, not 12 meals a week. 12 meals a week. And, you know, and the way it works is it comes in each of its own bag. And sometimes we'll get like the same meal. So if we get the same meal, it just comes in like one big bag. You know what I mean? And so like, it's very resourceful. It's a very like LA thing to do. You know what I mean? But it's very, I understand why people do it. As to back maybe before COVID, I was like, this stuff's stupid. Like, why would you do that? But like, after realizing, having to go to like the grocery store and realizing how kind of hard it is to like find those ingredients sometimes, and like realizing you have to pay for every single ingredient to make that one thing, and then you have to make sure you use all that stuff before it expires, is a bit of a hassle, and it's a waste of money. So we kind of just like redid our budget a few months back, and then we started doing HelloFresh, and it's been good. It's been good. It's been fun.
It's probably healthy too.
Oh yeah, like I don't eat anything bad. Like it's the high protein. They have like a high protein option. They have like several options. They have like a pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan.
Wow.
High protein. They have like a family style. There's like all sorts.
And your doctors for your heart, they say you should eat a high protein diet.
Oh yeah. They said I should really eat a lot of fruits and high proteins, and also a lot of vitamin C, I believe. Yeah, vitamin C, and then I even have like those they're like the shots of vitamin C, like in the packets that you just like put in your water or whatnot. I drink those all the time.
Yeah,
which is really good for you.
Yeah, I use vitamin C. I put vitamin C in lemon water every morning. I drink
a lot of lemon water.
I have this big vat of powder, vitamin C powder. It's great.
It was really funny with lemon water, even though it's a weird topic. My grandma used to do that, like when I was younger, and I'd be like, "Oh, this." I was like, "Why do you put lemon in your water?" Like, and I found that it helps your heart, and like it really like helps your body a lot. And I was like, Grandma was like ahead of her time.
That's right.
I was like, that's crazy. Like that's cool. So I actually drink a lot of lemon water too. Sabrina doesn't like it, but I enjoy it. Do you use just like regular lemon juice, or you actually like squeeze the lemon?
My parents have lemon trees, and so I use actual fresh squeezed lemons.
That's amazing. I try to use.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not fresh because it's the grocery store, but it's like I try to use real lemons. I don't try to use the like juice. Yeah. Sabrina will do the juice. I'm like, no. I was like, that's all like artificial flavors.
Yeah, no, like lemons. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, man, you know, I think COVID overall though, like it changed my perspective on a whole lot of things, even with school, you know, and I feel like it really showed who is, I guess in my friend group, it really showed like who was like really meaning, like they really focusing on this versus people that are like, like, and it really showed me like who I should work with and who I shouldn't work with as well. You know, is there like any like one big lesson you kind of learned in COVID, or is it kind of just like a, you know, you kind of just went about and.
I think COVID just made me a little bit more just just more of a spiritual person, and just a little bit less. You know, I used to just love to run around and do a million things constantly, and now I'm a lot better at just being with myself, like not having to always be stimulated, always be on the phone, always be working or something. So yeah, it taught me to appreciate life, just being in the moment more. You know.
Yeah, I feel for that. Like most recently though, like it's just hitting me maybe in the last 2 weeks of like, you know, I'm kind of getting annoyed with my phone again, and like I'm kind of getting more on that spiritual way of like I realize there's more meaning in life than just looking at your phone or going to events that aren't gonna do you any good, or like running around doing things for people that don't really care. You know what I mean? And so I think COVID really taught me that as well. It's like it made me more spiritual in the sense of like respecting myself as well too.
And your time.
And my time, yeah, exactly. And COVID really showed me that like a lot of people are kind of just using me for my time. Like they could care less if I like did anything else or whatnot. And like, now that COVID's not around, like, those same people try to like, get under my skin or whatnot that like would waste my time. And, now it's like, now that I had seen all that and stuff, I think it was a very big eye opener that, that you should really protect your time and yourself. Like, you should respect yourself. You shouldn't compromise yourself just because you want an opportunity or just because you want to work with somebody or not. Because I used to do that all the time. I used to compromise myself all the time. Like, you take no pay, which is fine because I'm a student. But then like I'd be like disrespected a bunch on set, or like, people would show up like an hour late and then like waste your time, or then like, blow you off at like last second. And it's like, now I have like so many boundaries.
That's great.
Like now, like usually like when I film something, I usually make someone sign shit too now too. That taught me a few lessons in COVID as well. And, I think respecting yourself and respecting your time is the most important thing you can do in this, like, in this moment in life, I think, in total, for anybody really, because right now the world is such a weird place. I don't even know how to explain how the world is right now, to be honest. It's just, anybody's trying to get anywhere and everybody's trying to be somebody. And like, I guess it's always been like that, but with the way prices are now and, rent's insane now, you kind of have to like protect yourself, and you kind of have to say no to like jobs that aren't going to do you well in the long run, like. And that for me has prevented work, but at the same time, it also makes me feel a little bit more sane. You know what I mean? And I think, man, I think that I look up to you a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I do. I enjoy your work. Thank you. Every time I came in class, you just seemed so happy and just calm and collected. You seem spiritual. So to hear that you came out of COVID even more spiritual, I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's good to hear that you...
Well, it's like I've been single for all my 40s,
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in an 8-year relationship in my 20s. And then in my 30s, I had a 1.5 years, a 2.5, and a 3.5. But my 40s, I was single. And I think when you're alone, you just have to learn how to be, self-sufficient and happy with yourself, I think that makes you more spiritual, as a person, just the whole idea of not needing someone else to like validate you or to make you whole as a person. That being said, I mean, I'm dating. I'm looking for, it's not like I don't want to be with somebody, but if it hasn't happened, you can't force something like that. It has to happen organically,
100%.
I mean, look at your wife literally walks in front of you,
Yeah. It's that's the funny thing, about dating too, is I think I was single for like 3 years. Like I dated like, all through high school, which really isn't anything. But like, I had a relationship, maybe like it lasted like 6 months after high school, and it just wrecked me so bad that I stayed single up until I met my wife. Like literally, like up until like I never went on dates or anything. I just learned to be with myself, and I'll have to say like that was the happiest I've probably ever been. Like, of course I'm happy now and I'm very grateful for what I have, but like on like a self-respect and self-improvement and like, just being myself, I'd say I was the happiest when like I had given myself that time to really heal and like understand myself. Like I decided in between those 3 years, I decided I want to move to LA, make a career in film, whatnot. I also decided like I want things to flow organically. I told myself that the next person that I date, it has to just flow. Like I can't force it. I can't just like want them to like me even if they don't. I think that was like my biggest problem, was like I would get interested in people that had no interest in me, and I would expect them to eventually like me, and then it just never happened. And it got I got really butthurt.
Well, it sounds like you have someone now that likes you. That's great.
Yeah, she's great. She's very humble too, which is very nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I really lucked out with her because I meet some people out here and I'm like, you seem like.
What brought her to LA?
I think she just wanted to explore. I think she just she grew up in Brazil her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
She actually had gone through a breakup,
Mm-hmm.
and she thought the best way to escape was to try to get a visa to come over here. And then she did. She actually lived in New York for like a whole year and a half before she lived
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she lived in New York a year and a half, did like a pair work there, and then she moved here to do a year and a half here, and then we met. So she's been here since, and we've been together. We'll be together like 3 years in this end of December.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
That's awesome.
It's the longest I've ever been with somebody
great.
too, which is it's unique. I'm figuring myself out. I'm figuring ways to really be better, be a better man. She makes me a better dude too.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm more calm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I take things very seriously, which is like in this day and age is really bad because like everyone I work with is so like laid back and like I'm so focused.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be done this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need it to be done at this time during this time. And she's just like, yeah, it's whatever. I used to be really anal about being late, and
Mm-hmm.
like now I'm like I realize not only do I live in LA, everybody's late.
Mm-hmm.
But like, as long as it's not like my job, like, it's not a big deal.
Right.
As to where like, even if it wasn't my job, I would make it a big deal. Like I'd be like, babe, I was like, we need to go. Like we have to go. And it's like, she's like, we don't have to be there on the dot, Joseph. I was like, as to where now I'm like, I don't even say anything. Like
she's on Brazilian time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what she literally says. She's like, us Brazilians, we take our sweet time. But she's like, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, anyways, man, she's great and she's been such a trooper. She definitely pulls the slack for sure. You know what I mean? And once I finish school, she plans on going back to school, which is great. And I'm excited to kind of turn the tables, you know what I mean? So, a lot of exciting things for us coming and
What does she want to go to school for?
Right now she's in between marketing and like social media type content making, and I told her I was like honestly you could do both. I just straight told her I was like you can do both. I was like you just have to find a way to do both. I was like that's what all filmmaking is about too. Is like you can do like producing, writing, directing. You can do all that. You just have to find a way. And it's actually not that. I mean it is hard, but it's not as hard to come across as people would think it would be, especially if you're the writer, you know what I mean? And so like I try to explain that in a different concept with her too, is like if you go out there and you start like doing your own thing and like just showing that you have work to provide, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier for you. Like I tell her all the time, I'm like, you need to watch like YouTube videos and you need to practice this and this before you even like try to go to school, because you're gonna want to be ahead of the game. Like, you're not gonna want to sit there. Trust me, because I know people and I know myself. Like I know her. She's gonna get so confused because English is like her second language, and so like sometimes things get a little confusing. So I know she'll get very confused. So I'm always like, make sure you watch these videos, read some books about it, like, kind of just focus on it. When you get home from your job, do that. And she's been really kind of getting into that, which is really cool to watch.
Awesome.
Yeah, but enough about us and me. I've known you, like I said, for about 3 years now, and I really hope someday we work together, like actually like professionally work together. And I really just appreciate you coming out and taking the time to talk to me and just.
That's my pleasure. Well, I remember you in class and you talked about, you made your biography of your life, with the photographs, and you talked about all your health issues and how so many times you've been close to death because of your heart issues, and how you had this very spiritual appreciation for life and for living, and you really were like an old soul, and I was really touched by you sharing your story. So I just think it's great that you're thriving and learning, living, loving.
Thank you. I
learning, laughing.
Yes, I appreciate it. I try my best. Every day is a struggle, and like like a lot of people, life is hard. You know what I mean? But I think overall, like, if you can just find like one thing in one day to be grateful for, I feel like everything will be okay.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to remind myself a lot. And going in there, I was way more innocent than I am now, obviously. But, like, I was very nervous to share that with the class. And, like, I was very nervous to kind of put myself out there because I also don't want to be known as, like, a person that got things because people feel sorry for me as well. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't feel sorry for you.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying you felt sorry,
Yeah.
but, like, I see people, like, use these things, like, to their advantage. And, like, I'm just not that type of person. So putting it out there for the class to see and everyone to see was, like, nerve-wracking for me.
But I bet you people really, like,
yeah,
appreciated it.
Oh yeah, and I made like Cam and Vladimir and all them, like, they're still all like my super close friends, and like it was a great. I'm glad I did it. Because I think I was just gonna do it like on subtle things throughout my life, but I was like, no, like, I feel like I should really just do this and try it. And yeah, like, so yeah, it was looking back on it, I'm very glad I did it.
It was a really spiritual experience for me to watch it because, in life we're all one day going to die, and you've already sort of like dealt with that at a very young age. And it makes your perspective so much more expansive and peaceful. And it was like a peace about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Which is why it surprises me when you talk to me about your anxiety and stuff, because I feel like,
Oh, I'm like, to be honest, like, I'm kind of like batshit crazy. Like, you can ask my wife. She's like, Joseph is a batshit crazy. Like, and that's why I love her too, is, she knows how to deal with all that. And I've never met somebody that can deal with all that.
That's awesome.
And I'm a very difficult person. Like, I do have a lot of issues because of my upbringing with my heart surgeries and losing my brothers and stuff. Like, I have a lot of mental issues because of that. And I have a lot of things that I still to this day have to work through with therapy. Like, there's things that I learn about myself new in every therapy lesson.
Did you go to therapy on FaceTime or Zoom?
Yeah, that's what I do.
I do too. It's great.
It works It works way better than having to go always
you have to
like
drive there
or someone's house or, like, you know what I mean? Like, and plus, like, not to be like a dick, but, like, if you don't like the person, you can kind of hide it over Zoom because they're not seeing, like, your body language or whatnot as in person. Like, when I'm uncomfortable with somebody, like, you can tell through my body language that I do not want to be there.
Also, maybe if you don't like your therapist, you need a different therapist.
Yeah. You don't have to confront them or nothing, yeah. No, I love it. But, I appreciate what you said. And, it's been a journey, man. It's been a long journey. And looking back, like, I was just thinking about the other day, I was like, I'm, like, really happy, like, where I am in life. Like, sometimes I'm, like, really hard on myself because obviously the grass is always greener somewhere else.
You can't compare yourself to anybody else.
Exactly. And, Sabrina's been saying that a lot. She's like, you can't compare yourself.
That's just going to make you crazy.
And it does make me crazy.
You can't do that.
It does make me crazy. It does make me crazy. And, yeah, man, I just appreciate what you said. Yeah, like, because sometimes I don't know, man, like, going back, like, I don't want to be known for that, but obviously eventually people will know about it. I want to be known for being, like, a really hard worker. And,
you
like,
are a hard worker.
And I appreciate that.
But it's part of your story, and I think it's a really beautiful thing that you overcome that kind of a serious adversity in life and, like, strive forward and have such light about you and goodness. Yeah, you do. You, like, radiated, like, really brightness. And I'm sure a big part of that, is because you've overcome so much darkness,
I feel like, yeah, man, I'm so speechless. I really appreciate you. I feel very humble right now. And, yeah, like, I just feel like life is full of dark times and I don't think it's ever going to stop. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a death, or there's always going to be something I don't get that I want, or there's always going to be a situation that just doesn't work out. And although in those moments, like, I feel very heartbroken, with the perspective I have now is, like, I know that, like, life just goes on and, like, you can't like sit there and it's okay to focus. I give myself a day. Like, I give myself a day to dwell on something. And then I throw it away. Like, I throw it away out of my thoughts. I'm like, okay, stop feeling like an idiot for this. You know what I mean? Like, when I first started the podcast, I would mess up editing a lot and I would really dwell on that. And now I'm like, even if I mess it up, I'm like, nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
And nobody notices. You know what I mean? So, like, things also seem way more stressful in the moment than they actually are, and they seem more intense than they actually are, because like after like a week of being away from that situation or whatnot, I'm like, that was like really nothing. Like, you know, like there's times where I'm like, I'm really sad because I didn't get a job, but it's also I'm like, dude, I'm like, there's so much
The
more
job's out there. Yeah.
there's so much more opportunities, and there's just like it's you get what you put in. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a big lesson I've learned this year too, is, you know, it's really helped me, especially my health scares recently. I really have learned to focus more, and like I'm like, okay, I need to get this done, and I'm not gonna stop until I get this done. And like with the podcast, it's like I was putting this off because this is like the start of season 2, so I was putting this off for months because I wrapped in like beginning of June, and I've been putting this off for months, and I was just like, I just need to do it. I just need to do it. I just need to do it. And so I emailed you. I was like, all right, we need to set a date. And now I have like the next 2 weeks just like filled with
That's
people.
awesome. That's
So
great.
like, I'm very grateful that, you know, you're being a part of this, and that, you know, you took the time out of your day to be here. And, you know, thank you for teaching me all the things you've ever learned. You know what I mean? Like, I've always enjoyed your classes, and I think you're a great dude. I'm so excited to see where Jawbreaker goes. Very excited.
Thank you.
If
Yeah.
you need any help,
Yeah, for sure.
I got you. I'll even run coffees. I don't care. You know what I mean? But overall, man, thank you so much for coming on, and just, it means a lot to me. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, everyone, again, writer, director, and producer Darren Stein.